Breaking tonight, new questions about whether an administration accused of executive overreach is about to reach even further. The Justice Department today responded to the federal judge who ordered a halt to the president's executive actions on immigration. And our next guest says the government's argument was, quote, novel. Judge Andrew Napolitano is the Fox News senior judicial analyst. Great to have you with us, Judge.
Good to be with you, Shannon.
All right, tell us about this novel argument.
All right, so the government filed a motion for a stay. They basically asked the trial judge who restrained them from implementing the president's executive orders to lift his restraint. And at the same time, they filed an appeal with the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. They followed the rules to a T. They have an absolute right to appeal. If they didn't appeal, the president's supporters would think they were crazy. But they made a crazy argument. They actually said, if you don't lift your appeal, you will cause irreparable harm to the federal government because we will not be able to serve the people that the president promised he would serve. Who are those people? The 5 million illegal, unlawful aliens that the president is trying to say, if you do A, B, C, D, and E, and I made up the A, B, C, D, and E, I won't deport you. That's an argument that is so novel, I must tell you. In my 40 years of practicing law, part of it as a judge, I have never heard the government argue. We must help lawbreakers break the law more. And that's why, Judge, you can't interfere with us.
Did they get any points for creativity?
They do get points for creativity, but not with this judge. I'll tell you why. Because he has already rejected. You've read the opinion, as did I, as did countless others. In the harshest of terms, some of the things they said to him. And what set him off was when the Obama administration lawyers, and they're good lawyers, said the president's not trying to change the law. The judge sent his clerk to Google, Obama, law change. Whoop! Pulled up 22 quotes out of the president's own mouth saying, I just changed the law on my own.
Yeah, and it's well documented. We have played those bites over and over again where he would be speaking and there would be somebody yell out from the audience, just do what you have to do or just override and you can make this change. And he would say, no, we have a constitution. He was a former constitutional law instructor, which he likes to point out. So he knows how the Constitution works. He knows how it all works together and what his powers are prescribed, what's prescribed to Congress, and, you know, the whole way it's set up.
You know, in all the years of doing this, there's a couple of lessons. You don't mislead the court. You don't make a disingenuous argument. You don't make an argument that you really can't back up. And for gosh sakes, when you have a client who's a public official and a public figure, the President of the United States, don't contradict him. Don't try and say something in court that you know your client, who happens to be a lawyer, has said the opposite in public.
Something interesting is that when they initially got the ruling, they said, of course, we're going to file an appeal. We're going to have to kind of put everything on hold that was about to go into effect, saying basically until this is settled, we're not going to be able to do any of these work permits or anything else. Now comes the stay request, which essentially is what you outlined, them saying we need to go ahead and do these things that some would argue are breaking the law to help people who have broken the law. And we're going to be harmed if we can't move forward with that. It sounds like a bit of a change, a 180 from saying, well, we're not going to start any of this stuff because we can't, but now we're going to ask the judge to let us do it.
It's a bit of a circular argument, and lest people listening to us get the wrong impression. The stay does not stop all work permits for all illegal aliens because Congress has authorized some work permits for some illegal aliens. The stay doesn't stop the enforcement of the law. It stops the enforcement of President Obama's version of the law that he himself acknowledged he changed with the stroke of a pen, which the Constitution prohibits him from doing.
We now understand all of this much better. For the judge having been here.
It's a delight to work with you,
Thanks, Judge. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, joining us now, Janice Fuentes, a Democratic strategist who previously served as Chief of Staff to Illinois Congressman Luis Gutierrez. Good to see you tonight, Janice.
Thank you for having me, Shannon.
All right, so let me just ask you, put it out there, the president himself making these statements 22 times, now making the very reverse statement. How do you square that as a Democrat?
Well, I want to specify, too, for viewers watching, is that the ruling does not rule out that the executive action is both legal and constitutional. I think what we're talking about here is about the process that the judge has a problem with. And to the judge's point, who came on before me, I think that who we're talking about is really the 5 million American citizens who are the children of these people affected. And I'm not sure that any American watching us today could say that those 5 million American citizens will be better off with a mother or a father who's working off the books and in danger or perhaps in fear of what's going to happen to them. So I think that the answer is, what is the answer? What are we going to do with the 5 to 11 million undocumented? We certainly don't have the money. You know, it costs more than $200 billion to deport them, and the budget that they have for that department is $17 billion. So I would like to know, what is Plan B if we cannot take care of this population?
Well, let me ask you this, because obviously there is a cost to society by having people here and adding to the roles, whether we're talking about healthcare, education, all of those things. Some things that the Supreme Court has argued that even if people are here illegally, they do have some access to certain public services and things.
Education.
Right, and of course education being chief among those. But when you have people who come here, they know they're coming illegally, and maybe they bring their young children, but they think if they wait it out, they can get through a program like this, and even if they can't be rewarded, which it sounds like many of them would be able to stay, their children would be rewarded. So how does the country square that with not rewarding and encouraging illegal behavior? Because who would blame people if they knew if they could get here, they could make a better life for themselves and their children, regardless of breaking the law, if they know that it's going to work for them once they get here? How do you discourage that behavior if you reward it?
I don't think we're talking about rewarding. I think we're talking about making sure that we're in a safer place. This is a national security issue as well. This is a tax issue as well. I want to know who's working and that they're paying taxes. I want to know their first names, their last names. I want them to go through a background security check. Let's not forget, we're also talking about American citizens, and I keep bringing that number up. 5 million children of these undocumented are American children. So I don't think that the problem is a lot more complex than just saying, oh, we're going to reward them. They are here. They are working. How are they here? Because some people are giving them jobs for them to support their family and stay here at the tune of 11 million,
yeah,
10
and
to 11.
Employers are doing that illegally, and they have to answer for it. But without enforcement of that, it leaves us back at square one.
Right, but curiously, a lot of them are paying taxes. How? With somebody else's number, which is interesting. Yes.
Yeah, that creates a whole new problem. We have to leave it there.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you weighing in on this. Also with us tonight, Senator Michael Lee, a Republican and member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he previously served as a Supreme Court clerk. I almost said justice. Who knows? Maybe that'll be in the future. But so far, just a clerk. Senator, good to see you tonight. Let me ask you, because you're very much a guy about the rule of law. You understand the Constitution inside and out. We're told our president does too, and that he is, he will be validated for the actions he's taken. What say you?
Well, look, I think that the American people are tired of this kind of obstructionism that's going on in Washington. You know, you have the President of the United States going into court and saying that his administration will somehow suffer irreparable harm if he doesn't have to follow the law. If, as the court has now directed, he has to follow the law, that somehow amounts to irreparable harm. You have the American people who are tired of this kind of obstruction in Washington, with the Democrats in the Senate refusing to allow us to move a funding bill forward to keep the Department of Homeland Security funded. And you've got people within the Democratic Party, the president's own party, who are tired of having to defend the president and having to obstruct government in the process of doing so. So look, the American people deserve better than this. It's time for them to expect more than this. And it's time for us to get to this Homeland Security funding bill that the House has passed and to get it on the table in the Senate and to get it passed.
I want to ask you about the late breaking news we heard today that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, of course, a Republican, talking about now splitting apart these two things that the House had put together, a measure that would fund the DHS, but only if it would block in some ways the president's executive actions on immigration that we've been discussing. If those split apart in the Senate, you have the upside for Republicans of forcing Democrats to vote on the issues about the executive action, and you get the funding through. Do you think that package is going to work? Because already tonight there are top Democratic staffers who are saying there's no way this gets done in time. You have the deadline looming, and DHS, if it remains unfunded, that's going to fall on Republicans. No matter the logistical and the technical behind-the-scenes stuff, it's going to look like the GOP is shutting it down.
Well, I know that's what the Democrats want to believe because they don't want to own up to what they've done. I mean, look, Shannon, we have put this on the table 3 weeks ago. We put it on the floor of the Senate, trying to bring this up. And for 3 weeks now, the Democrats have refused to allow this bill to even come up. They've refused even to allow the bill to be debated so that they could amend it and change it. They won't let us do any of that. They are engaging in obstruction, and that's wrong. The American people are demanding more than that, and they're seeing through these antics, which are designed first and foremost to protect a president in his lawlessness, in his defiance of the constitutional system.
Well, for now, you still have that court decision, the stay, the appeal still playing out as the Hill battle over this plays out. Senator, thanks for taking time, a break from that, to talk with us.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, up next, the florist, at the center of that high-profile fight for religious freedom, is offered a chance to get out of trouble. But she responds by saying, quote, her freedom is not for sale. She is here next in a Kelly File exclusive. Plus, the Denver Police Department in the middle of a firestorm over allegations of racism. We'll report you decide who's really in the wrong.
Walk around your family. Trying to get through, homie. I'm not your homie either. Just walk around. We're trying to get through. We're trying to do our job. Walk around.